I'm Patricia, and I'm from BigSibs, and today I'm going to be going over a question from the June 2020 Algebra 2 Regents exam about inverses. So inverses are basically pure algebra questions. And the key point to start with is to understand that f of x is basically y in the context of doing the algebra. Like f of x just means the function of x, so the output when x is the input. So that's why sometimes you'll get like a linear equation that looks like this. And that's in function notation. Or you could write a linear equation like this, because y is the general output. So whenever you see an inverse question, I always say the first step is to just replace f of x with y. So now we would write our original function as negative 6x plus 1/2. All right, so now to the inverse part. When you have an inverse, what do? You switch x and y. And now you see why it was important that we replaced f of x with y. So now, to get our inverse, all I do is where there was a y, I put the x, and then when there was an x, I put the y. So now, as promised, this is our straight algebra. So now we're solving to get y by itself. So to get y by itself, first thing you have to do is use inverse operations to move over the number that's not directly attached to that y. So that's this 1/2. So I'm going to subtract 1/2 from both sides, cancel it on this side, and on this side, it turns into x minus 1/2 equals negative 6y. And what's your next step to get y by itself? You divide by the coefficient, which in this case is negative 6. Now, a very normal error to make here is to only divide one of the pieces by that negative 6. But when you divide two things that are added, subtracted together by a number, each thing needs to be divided. So this is the same as dividing x by negative 6 and negative 1/2 by negative 6. So make sure that you divide both. You can even write it out like I did if it's difficult to remember. This is going to cancel. So you're going to be left with y here. So x divided by negative 6 is just negative 1/6 x to match the notation in the question. And then negative 1/2 divided by negative 6. Well, this is actually pretty simple. All you do is you make that negative 6 a fraction by putting it over 1 and do your classic keep, change, flip. So it's negative 1/2 times 1 over negative 6, which will give us negative 1 over negative 12, which, as we know, a negative and a negative makes a positive, so that becomes 1/12, a positive 1/12. So our answer here is y, our new y equals negative 1/6 plus 1/12. The last thing is now we just have to put it back into function notation. So because this is an inverse, instead of being f of x, it's going to be f to the negative 1 of x, which indicates an inverse. And there you have it. The answer here, oh, I wrote it wrong. There we go. I found 1/12 and then I didn't write it. Classic. The answer here is 3. So I hope that was helpful. Always remember, when you find that inverse, f of x, just replace it with y. Inverse just means switch x and y. Solve for your new y, and then put it back into that function notation, and you'll get it right down. All right. Have a nice rest of your day. See you next time.